Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit ASBGold.com. That's ASBGold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news this hour, officials say multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life in a New York jail.
Yeah, Epstein pleaded not guilty in July. That was to charges of trafficking dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14 years old, forcing them to have sex with his powerful friends.
Do we believe it? No, he didn't kill himself. He got murdered. And actually, there's a chance that he's still alive. But this Jeffrey Epstein suicide note, barely legible, illegible, legible. You can't understand what the hell he wrote. It doesn't look like a suicide note to me. It doesn't say "Dear World." It doesn't say "I'm out, Jeff." It's something a little bit, I don't know. It's vague, and I think it's fake. They investigated me for months, he said. Found nothing! ! No dots. So 15-year-old charges resulted. It is a treat to be able to choose. Time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Burst out crying? No fun. Not worth it. He likes to have fun. This is the Jeffrey Epstein 7-year-old suicide note. I don't believe it. I don't believe a damn thing about this case. I just don't. I also don't believe that, well, you know, the big secret about Jeffrey Epstein is mostly he was hooking up with adult women, one after the other. All of these people who are coming forward, they were all adults when they met Jeffrey Epstein. Little known fact, but they were 21, 19, 25. They were not children. Well, they were young and vulnerable. They knew what they were doing. They knew what was going on. They did. I'm sorry. They did. And you got to listen to their stories. And you got to remember, just like, okay, just because they say they're survivors, just because they're wearing white T-shirts and linking arms and at a press conference and some congressman is calling them, oh, these amazing women who are standing up and telling their truth. Don't fall for it. Let me look at the evidence. Right now I see optics. I see how you guys want us to feel, what you think we should be feeling, and then people go along with that. Not me and not us. By the way, if you're ever wondering what Jeffrey Epstein sounds like, because for all the talk we've had about this guy, nobody really knows what he sounded like. Here's what he sounded like. This is Epstein. You ever been in the deposition? They're very interesting. It's like court without a jury. And they get testimony and there's no judge in the room, but they can call a judge, right? If anybody gets out of line, they call it the special master. And there's a phone and we'll have to call the special master. Please don't call the special master. So I'm like, get this special master on the phone. He sounds interesting. I think he's going to take my side in this little dispute. Let's see here. Cut 2, please. Cut 2.
Were you sexually abused as a minor?
You know, I'd like to respond to all your, if any, questions seem to be relevant, but I would like to respond to any relevant question at this time. However, my attorneys have counseled me that I cannot provide answers to the questions relevant to this lawsuit today. I must accept their advice or risk losing my Sixth Amendment right to effective representation. Accordingly, then, I assert my Fifth, Sixth, and 14th Amendment right to the United States Constitution.
All right. The man has rights. Fifth Amendment, I know. 14th, 15th, 16th Amendment. Fascinating moment. I don't believe it. Why does this come out now? Whatever we're looking at is a fragment of a note. Have you seen it? It's not really I don't know what it is. It wasn't in the Epstein files. Why is that? Why isn't it in the Epstein files? The whole damn thing. You know why, though? You know why? It was just an operation to embarrass Trump. Right? And this is one of the many things that Obama was up to. When he was living and working in Washington, D.C., while President Trump was president the first time around. And he's still there. It's the weirdest, strangest thing in the world. Obama said he was getting out of town because, what was it, about his daughter? His daughter had to finish school. Great big lie. This Obama interview on Colbert, very creepy, very weird. Cut 4, please. Cut 4.
What powers do you believe the president should not have?
Well, there are a couple that I followed even though they weren't law. And I want us, we're going to have to do some work to return to this basic norm, and we probably now have to codify it. The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants prosecuted.
Right, because technically it's under the executive branch.
Technically,
the norm is that it's independent.
The idea is that the Attorney General is the people's lawyer. It's not the president's consigliere.
The idea is, he actually said that they'd have to change the law to make the president not do what the president is doing, because what the president is doing is lawful. Every lawyer in the world, every lawyer who works for the government could say, I don't want anything to do with President Trump. We think he's politically motivated. Well, politically motivated, politically. They make it sound like that's a bad thing. Political is basically the art of governance in a democracy. All right. We want political. We don't want unelected people who have jobs, right? They just have jobs, and people with jobs have mortgages. They've got ambitions. They have concerns about retirement. They have all these things that they factor in to preserve their jobs. And a lot of them have something that a lot of people don't have. When you work for the government, you have an inordinate amount of security, job security. So they stay there forever, and they're beyond presidential political influence. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. President Trump has every right. He can say to himself, I know this Comey is a bad guy. I want him investigated. I want him investigated because I know firsthand he's a bad guy and he did bad things. So investigate him. And they did. And they found out they came up with some stuff, serious stuff, and they're not finished. That's constitutional. That's beautiful. That is, now you can come up with all kinds of regulations and all kinds of, not laws, right, but norms. The president can't do that. The president can't do that. This is the problem with the Biden people. They lied to everybody and said, no, we didn't call for the prosecution of President Trump. We didn't do that. Well, they did. I've proven it many times. Biden has said it out loud. Also, it's in the New York Times. He was conveying all kinds of messages to Merrick Garland. Please investigate. You must investigate or else I'm going to fire you. Now, Biden could have said, I don't think President Trump should be president again. I think he's a threat to national security. I want him investigated. He could have said that. And he would have been I wouldn't have liked it. He would have been wrong, but he would have been constitutionally sound. Would it have conflicted with norms? These norms. When did these norms get established? It got established. It basically came about with the rise of the military-industrial complex, the deep state, and it's very, very, very deep. Let me see here. What's the next one, if you don't mind? Cut. Give me the next Obama clip, if you can. Do you mind? Go ahead.
Two of the core principles of a democracy. We can survive a lot. Bad, funky elections. There's a bunch of stuff that, we can overcome. We can't overcome the politicization of the criminal justice system, the awesome power of the state. You can't have a situation in which whoever's in charge of the government starts using that to go after their political enemies.
Who's ever in charge of the government, whoever the president is, political enemies is not a special category under the law, right? I mean, political enemies, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, we always have kind of this, what do you call it? Not checks and balances, but there is this competition between the parties. So a president cannot prosecute anybody in the opposing party. It doesn't. No, he can. Why? Because we have given him that power. This has all been diluted and obfuscated, but he is the chief law enforcement officer of the country. If he suspects a law is being broken, he has a duty to dispatch his DOJ and his FBI. It's very interesting how they tried to make this aberrant, crazy behavior. Now, then there's also this. Listen to this. Obama wants to change the Constitution. And it's very hard to change the Constitution. You have to have a constitutional convention. The states have to get involved. It's a real pain in the neck. That's why it almost never changes. When's the last time we passed an amendment? When is the last time we passed an amendment? It's got to be a very long time ago. I'll look it up. Listen to this. Cut 6, please. Cut 6. More Obama.
Or reward their friends, right? So another power maybe I'd say would be although this is in the Constitution, it's a little hard to change, but maybe don't pardon people who've given you a bunch of campaign contributions or invested in your businesses.
So he said this would be a little bit hard because it says in the Constitution that he's allowed to do this. So we'll have to change that. The last constitutional amendment was, the 27th Amendment, which was ratified in 1992. It states that any law changing congressional pay cannot take effect until after the next election for the House of Representatives. All right, that's not exactly universal suffrage, but, All right, so he wants to change the Constitution. Obama's emerging, by the way. He wants to shore up his popularity because it's very possible that he will be charged because the man is a traitor. The man did try to sabotage a presidency, and there are all kinds of laws that he broke. Cut 7, if you don't mind. Cut 7. This is the most important one. What he says here. Now, it sounds all reasonable because it's the way he talks. It doesn't seem, the way let's face it, he's got a mild-mannered approach. It's kind of pleasant. But it kind of lulls you into a sense of complacency or a sense of, this guy can't be all that bad. Wrong. He is. Next cut, please.
Second thing is the military. Don't politicize our military. As president, you are commander-in-chief. You are responsible for directing our military. But there had been a whole series of norms that were in place to ensure that you weren't trying to make that military loyal to you as opposed to the Constitution and the people of the United States. We're going to have to find mechanisms to restore that.
Well, those mechanisms. I know a lot of people will think what they just heard sounds fantastic. Wow, that's, of course, how can you argue with that? Well, it's actually contrary to everything, every way this system actually does work and should work. Political, the Constitution. The military has very little to do with the Constitution. It's a component of the executive branch. Let me read you. This is the commissioning document. I have about 5 of these things. I got commissioned. How many times did I get commissioned? 5 or 6 times. When I got promoted to second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, I got a commissioning document. I got another one, first lieutenant. I got another one, captain. I got another one, major. I got another one, lieutenant colonel. 5. My father has 6. He made it colonel, all the way to colonel. And we have these hanging in our house. Okay? And this is what authorized me to be in the military. It was a commission, an actual kind of appointment by the President of the United States. That's what a commission is in this context. And what is the very first phrase on this document? It's very beautiful. It's like suitable for framing. In fact, I have them framed. You ready? The President of the United States of America, to all who shall see these presents greeting, know ye that reposing special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of Gregory R. Kelly, I do appoint him a lieutenant colonel in the United States Marine Corps Reserves. How about that? It's directly from the President of the United States to the public announcing that I am an officer in the military at a certain rank. The rank as such from this date, July 1st, 2011, this is when I was promoted to lieutenant colonel. This officer will therefore carefully and diligently discharge the duties, blah, 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 blah. I require this officer, lesser ranked people will obey him. This officer is to observe and follow such orders and directions from time to time as may be given by the President of the United States or other superior officers acting in accordance with the laws of the United States. This commission is to continue in force during the pleasure of the President of the United States under the provisions of those public laws relating to offices of the Armed Forces of the United States of America and the component thereof in which this appointment is made, signed President of the United States by Jim Webb, Secretary of the Navy, by direction. It was delegated. You know what is not listed in here? Constitution. We took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. Yeah, that was more ceremonial. That was like a photo op. And it sounds, I know people don't, well, what about the Constitution? I was appointed to obey the president, not to evaluate the Constitution. And they fooled an awful lot of people. And the military, you know what they do? They play a game with presidents. They play a game and they bamboozle them. Now, this is a kind of a different topic, but it's also related. They co-opt the president. They make the president feel like they're subordinate to the military. So Obama's president of the United States, and he had big ideas. He wanted to close Guantanamo, and he wanted to get out of Afghanistan, and he wanted to get out fast. Bob Woodward, the journalist, writes those big books about Watergate and the rest. Listen to his reporting, which is valid, about how the president was told no by the generals. Who's really running the country? Cut 8, please. Cut 8.
The meetings. Obama felt disrespected and trapped. And at different times, he felt that the military was maneuvering around him. Did they think they could take a young president?
Some of them might have thought that. So you're the president who's supposed to be the decider, who's supposed to have choice, and you've got these blocks of granite out there saying, oh, no, you really don't have a choice. This is the way to do it. And he was not happy.
The establishment wanted 40,000 troops, an open-ended commitment. He wanted a plan for a U.S. exit. In the end, he gave 30,000, but still the military kept pushing.
Who's really running the show? So they get co-opted. They become part of the swamp. This president, President Trump, knows he's in charge. He is in charge. And they try to make it look like somehow it's authoritarian or it's at least inappropriate that he would be running the country or running the military, right? And like they have all these, no, he's doing it purely. He's doing it in the way of George Washington. Whereas Obama, more in the mold of, say, a Lyndon Johnson.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network. Greg Kelly. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched a reality TV show in my life. I've seen clips. I've interviewed every one of them. At the Good Day show, that third hour there, it was becoming a TV show about people on reality TV shows. It was getting a little bit much with the reality TV. Started, quite frankly, resenting them and finding them just annoying. And then when I heard Spencer Pratt was running for mayor of Los Angeles, I'm like, okay, whatever. This is probably a joke. I don't take those people seriously. And, it's not, whatever. I saw the debate last night. I saw a big chunk of it. So Spencer Pratt is running for mayor of Los Angeles. And, it's you got to be careful about your prejudices and your more hastily or casually formed opinions. The guy was magnificent. And, is he qualified to be the mayor? Kind of, yeah, actually. Yeah, I think if you have common sense and you're willing to take the plunge and you're willing to fight, we can evaluate, we can take a look. They have little tricks to keep regular people out of politics, right? What's one of the little tricks? Have you ever managed a budget of 400 billion people? Well, of course not. Most people haven't. Well, then you have, because some city councilman, right? They'll lay claim to that. Oh, I was instrumental in passing the budget of $16 trillion billion, and therefore I know about how to, right? It's a little scam. I've seen that scam myself. I played it a little bit, When I was getting out of the military, they could say, okay, so you could say you managed, $100 million in assets, which sounds great on a resume. It didn't feel right. It wasn't really right. Yes, the plane was worth $36 million. The building was probably worth another $10 million, and all this stuff added up. I could probably say I managed $100 million, but it wasn't the spirit. I don't think it was accurate. And So I wouldn't put those kinds of numbers down. Some people do to get away with something, to deceive. But bottom line, Spencer Pratt, reality TV show star from like a long time ago, I don't care. He lost his house in the Palisades fire, and he was kind of radicalized. He's radicalized. This shouldn't have happened. They kind of know, they should know, they do know how to stop these things by now. You know, what does it take to stop fire? Water, rakes, lawnmowers, stuff like that. And these basics, no, they're too consumed with the very expensive, from electric cars to wind and all this stuff. So Spencer Pratt, a political superstar. And I don't even want to talk politics, because right away politics, it's like, okay, well, what is he going to be next? Is he going to be a senator? Does he want to be governor? Let's listen to last night, shall we? He was up against Karen Bass, who I've actually started to cut a little bit of slack, because she's going to take help from anybody, even if it comes from President Trump. I saw her in the Oval Office last week. And then this crazy nitwit councilwoman, Nithya, very pretty, but I don't think she's going anywhere. You ready with this? Okay, go.
To the Mayor Karen Bass's, the 1,000 firefighters that were available, but there was no engines for them because of the $17 million that Chief Crowley had asked the mayor for 9 weeks before, and Mayor Karen Bass denied it. So they may have been available, but they didn't have the equipment they needed. Not to mention Janice Quinones, who Mayor Karen Bass put into her position of power at the LADWP. She drained both of these reservoirs that these firefighters needed to put out these fires. A lot of people talk about climate change and hurricane force winds. The winds in the Pacific Palisades never reached higher than 40 miles per hour. For those first 6 hours, they didn't go above 27 miles per hour. So without those two reservoirs filled with 117 million gallons and 5 million gallons, these firefighters had to fly all the way to Malibu and Encino to get water. So that, to me, is the most dangerous thing that the mayor put us up against.
Mr. Pratt, a follow-up here, though. What would you do moving forward that would make this better 2 years from now if we face the same situation?
Well, first off, as mayor, I will never drain the reservoirs that we need for wildfire protection. There's this conspiracy now that they're empty, that they were for drinking water. But if you research it, they were actually made for wildfire protection. As mayor, I'm going to add 20 dip sites all around the communities, connecting to pools. So God forbid the water system goes down again. These dip sites that will be connected to individuals' pools will fill up for the helicopters to have water.
Mayor Bass, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, absolutely. He's saying several things that are completely inaccurate. First of all, there was one reservoir that was out of commission. He is correct. 1 million years ago, it was for wildfires, but over the last 30, 40 years, it's been for drinking water. He talked about the winds. That is just completely inaccurate. If that were accurate, then the planes would have been able to fly. And so the winds reached close to 100 miles an hour, and the planes were unable to fly. So if there were reservoirs, if that reservoir had been open, it would not have worked. We had two other reservoirs totaling 8 billion gallons that were available. But could not fly.
Yes, she mentioned me. So she's an incredible liar. Everyone on their phones, Google it. 40 weather stations in the Pacific Palisades. It never went above 40 miles per hour. She is referencing the Altadena fire.
I have to interrupt you. No name calling,
she
please.
She just lied, though.
Yeah, but no name calling.
She called me a liar.
I don't believe she did.
She
I did not hear that.
This up.
I did not.
We're not going to debate the issue. We have a question now for Councilmember Rahman.
I mean, give me a break. Liar? Is that like calling somebody an a-hole? That's name calling. Calling somebody a liar, that's a descriptive. You're allowed to do that. These silly little hosts. Now, they weren't all that bad, although one host, I mean, the rule was your questions have to be limited to a minute. And some of the hosts were answering questions that were about a minute long, or asking questions that were about a minute long. So vain, so pompous, so full of themselves. We have another clip handy, standing by. Go ahead and hit that one.
How many beds you give these people, they are on super meth. They are on fentanyl. The DEA statistic says 93% of this is a drug addiction problem. Nithya, Councilwoman Robbins' plan for treatment first, I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, what did you say? 3,000 people for $400 million is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
I like it. You know what he is? He's a citizen. He's a regular person who's impassioned. He knows his stuff, right? And it affected him. It affected, he lost his house. He lost all that stuff. What do you have government for? If you can't, they don't have water in the damn reservoirs, for crying out loud. That's not too much to ask. So, Newsom, by the way, Newsom. Don't get me started on Newsom. The piece will drop tomorrow. A couple of other little quick things. Obama complained that President Trump continues to make money as he's president of the United States. Number one, I don't know if that is true. But this is the way a man who went into public office with student debt. He became a state senator in 1996. He had all kinds of college debt. He left office in 2017 worth approximately $100 million. Now it's believed he's worth approximately $900 to $1.1 billion. How about that? Cut 9, please. No, actually make that cut. What do we got here? 9. Yes, 9.
And then, a good policy that I'd like to see followed is that the President of the United States shouldn't have a bunch of side hustles that those companies and foreign entities can invest in. And
how much of that is just jealous that you didn't think of selling a sneaker? Because your sneakers would have flown. You know that, right?
You know
would
what?
have banked coin.
I thought this was a pretty obvious principle.
Well, a couple of things. Those sneakers came out when President Trump wasn't president. I had a pair right down the hall, actually. Very beautiful, high-top golden sneakers. It's just rich coming from a guy like Obama, who was nothing before he went into politics and is everything now. President Trump had his own helicopter in 1982, right? He did not go in this for money. Now, what do they cut? What's the side hustle? Is it the watch? Is it the watches, right? I even some friends of mine, why does he have to sell the watches? Look, I mean, this is what he does. This is what he's always done. And there's nothing extra constitutional about it. There's nothing, George Washington had the farm in Mount Vernon. They went back and they looked. He was tending to the farm. He spent half the time in Mount Vernon. He left Washington, D.C. all the time to tend to that plantation, and it was a plantation. Why not? Why not? Government is not supposed to be so complex. They had this idea that actually it could be almost a part-time government, and you did not need a class of aristocrats or technocrats to run everything. Hey, Hakeem Jeffries may be facing criminal charges. Hakeem low IQ Jeffries, President Trump said should be charged with inciting violence. The radical left Democrats actually want to destroy our country. And, you think about this, a couple of days before President Trump was almost shot, he asked for maximum warfare against Republicans. Hey, if you don't mind, there's action going on over at the United Nations right now. The Security Council. Oh, where you going, Mike Waltz? Mike Waltz is just about to wrap up. The UN ambassador. Iran wants international ship captains to pay tolls. International ship captains have to pay tolls to get through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that reasonable? I don't think it is. Those are international waters. It's not the most unthinkable thing, though, in the world. We're getting closer. Not everybody understands that we actually pay tolls all the time, even though I'm not talking congestion pricing. I'm talking about when you land an airplane at an airport. Guess what? There's a landing fee. I used to pay these things all the time myself at Republic Airport. It goes into your ticket, by the way. When you fly JetBlue, I think it's like $1,000, maybe $2,000 every time a plane lands at an airport that the airline has to pay to the airport. When I was learning how to fly a little tiny propeller plane, the landing fee was $2.50 at Republic Airport in Farmingdale. And then it went up to $5, and you'd practice landings. At every landing, they logged it, and you had to pay not only for your fuel, not only for the plane costs, not only for you had to pay a landing fee. It's kind of so. This is not bad. They're talking, and we're getting close. As Henry Kissinger once said, "Ladies and gentlemen, peace is at hand." We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
A fish that can walk. Surfing hippos want to catch the waves. Species found nowhere else on Earth. Join me in this celebration of our planet's greatest national parks and wilderness.
So Obama pretending that he's, that guy from Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom. Unbelievable. He got $60 million for hosting a fake animal show. All he had to do is walk down the beach one time, right? Narrate a couple of spots. $60 million for him and Michelle. Anybody remember the name Bubba Wallace? Bubba Wallace was a NASCAR driver, and he was in his garage, and he pulled down the garage door, and then he got it in his head that the rope that had been there for many years was a noose, and it was meant to intimidate him. Now, Bubba Wallace happened to be black, somewhat black, and the noose, was supposed to be, they're trying to get him out of NASCAR. Because NASCAR is perceived, rightly or wrongly, as kind of a good old boy, mostly white thing. I don't know. I don't know much about NASCAR, but it became a national sensation and craze. This hate crime that happened. Of course, NASCAR, the South, MAGA, right? Oh, gosh, look at all those racists down there. Terrible, totally misrepresented by mostly by white liberal elites. And they want to see racism, where it isn't. And they saw all kinds of racism because too many white people involved in NASCAR. And Bubba Wallace became this big thing, and he had a tearful press conference. And what was it like to see the noose? And oh, my gosh, the noose. The noose was a piece of string. It was just a regular piece of string. It wasn't a noose. It wasn't meant to send a message. But we had one of those, what do they call it? A national conversation about a noose that wasn't a noose, right? Now, we have a situation in New York City where there are, no kidding, actual anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish attacks and hate going on virtually every night. And it's no big whoop. There's no national conversation. There's not even a local conversation. Am I hallucinating here? What the hell do you think you're doing? How can you not? Something has to be done. You know what? I think I have to turn out for a vigil or something like that. I want to grab a candle and I want to do something. I can't watch these marauders go around hassling Jewish people, writing swastikas all over the place. Several synagogues and homes in New York and Queens were vandalized this week with swastikas. And you know who's raising the alarm about this? The cops? No. The mayor? Of course not. The media? Not really. A woman named Julie Menin. And the more I'm learning about her, the more I like her. She happens to be the city council speaker. And, she's saying when rabbis and congregants arrived to pray this morning, they expect to be met with their usual loving community. When a family woke up, they were prepared to begin an otherwise normal week. Instead, they were met with terrifying signals of hatred and threats of violence. And Heil Hitler, and swastikas in this city, in New York City, and nobody gives a damn. It just like I assume this is kind of how it started in Europe in the 30s. Broken windows, graffiti, Jew go home, Heil Hitler, and then they industrialized killing. And too many people just were okay with it. Maybe they're scared. Maybe I don't know. How about in this city? What's going on? There are people apparently who don't secretly hate Jews, and maybe there are some who secretly hate Jews. I can't believe it. Bubba Gump, or whatever his name was, Bubba Wallace and a piece of string. What about Jussie Smollett and that stupid story to which there was absolutely no evidence? This is MAGA country, bro. Get out of here. Huh? MAGA country. I don't know, man. This is the Twilight Zone. Dov Hikind has been a champion in the Jewish community for so long. It breaks my heart that this is happening. He'll be joining us in a little bit. He did everything he could to stop Mamdani, and there he is. And Mamdani doesn't even pretend, right? Doesn't even pretend. And now they have taken off the website, New York City's official website. You know, there are all kinds of business opportunities and business relationships between us, New York, and other countries. New York is a huge economy. If we were a country, we'd be like the 50th biggest country in the world. We are a big, big, big city with a lot of economic powerhouse, a lot of economic might. And with that, we have relationships with Tokyo. We have relationships with Munich. We have relationships with Montreal. We had relationships with Tel Aviv. We had relationships with Jerusalem. And now those relationships have been canceled. You can't find them anymore. Removed because they make Mayor Mamdani and his radical anti-Semitic friends uncomfortable. What's that all about? What is that all about? It's anti-Semitism, baby. It's here. Dov Hikind is coming up. I don't want to let today go without acknowledging what happened yesterday at the White House. That beautiful, beautiful moment for the mothers and the wives of servicemen. You know, my mother, a Marine wife and a Marine mom, they used to say it was the toughest job in the Marine Corps. I think they still do. A Marine wife or a Marine mother. They're not in the Marine Corps, but boy, oh boy, do they worry. They worry like crazy. And having a son or daughter in the military, that can be tough. And they were at the White House, and they just spoke so beautifully and movingly. And you know what they were? Appreciated by the president and the first lady. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Here are some of the moms, okay? Remember, they have sons and daughters in harm's way, and some of them just got back from being in harm's way themselves. Cut 11, please. Cut 11.
This is such an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm truly touched to represent my family, the Marine Corps, Camp Lejeune, and military moms and spouses like you all.
We had the nation behind us at a time when nobody thought our boy would make it. He was 24 years old. He was a young man on the streets of D.C.
I just want to say I'm proud to be an American. I am proud to serve our nation, the world's greatest Air Force. Thank you for all of the moms out here and for your spouses, your kids, yourselves. So thank you all, and happy Mother's Day.
That's really, really nice. And then we heard from Melody Wolf. Now, people forget everything. Everybody forgets everything. You know, things go so fast. But you remember we had that big crime spike in Washington, D.C., and President Trump brought in the National Guard and brought the situation under control. And some of the National Guard were from West Virginia. And, of course, our media and Democrats acted like the Nazis were taking over because you brought in American servicemen to, you know, maintain order in a chaotic city that deserves so much more. And a maniac who came here from Afghanistan, who was not sufficiently vetted, who hated America, didn't come here because he loved America, came here to harm America. He opened fire, killed one soldier, and seriously wounded another. Andrew Wolf, traumatic brain injury, shot in the head. And his mom, Melody, spoke. Amazing woman, such strength. Cut 12, if you don't mind.
We have a strong faith in God, and God is what brought our son through this. He gave us an amazing backing. He gave us amazing doctors. He gave us amazing nurses. And our community, our nation, our community, are just all of the support and the support of the White House medical staff. Anything that our son needed was met. We are just truly thankful. And we're a little over 5 months. He came home from the hospital April 2nd. And he is now enjoying being home. He's getting back into playing golf. He loves cornhole, as you know. Yes.
Cornhole is that thing. What's basically beanbag. It's basically beanbag. And the other thing that I picked up, my takeaway is how much respect President Trump. You can't fake this. Biden tried to fake it. He couldn't. You see right through it. He had contempt for people, contempt for regular people. You know, he saw them as slobs. He saw them as fat. He saw them as, he even said it to their face. Remember when he told that guy he was fat right to his face? This is what people look like, dude. This is what people who with jobs and worries and responsibilities, right? You know, when you're a politician, you don't have any of that stuff. Cut 14, please. Cut 14.
And I want to thank you. Where are you? Where are you? Please stand up. Would you like to come up and say, come here, Frederick. Come here. Come on. I think you should. Do you want to say something about your boy and how? Come on up here, Melody. No, it's such an amazing story. Such an amazing story. Come. Well, Amanda, thank you very much. Where are you, Amanda? Where are you? Come on up here, Amanda. I got to do this. You know, they're not expected to, but they're doing very well. Come on up. That's great. Thank you very much.
And it's mutual. And he's so attentive as they speak. He's taking in every word. Let's a little note to self, though. If you ever find yourself in the White House, you got to be ready. you better be ready. You know who was ready? Sid. Sid was at a reception. He goes, Sid, there he is. Sid, get up here. Say a few words. And Sid spoke so well. I've never seen a politician do that, actually. When you think about it, that never, ever happens. It's interesting. I noted this once before. You know when President Trump has people to the stage? Right after he wins. Right after he wins elections, whether it's primary, whether it's general, come on up here and say a few words. Now, I went through it. I looked at every presidential for the past 30, 40 years, and I saw every time, you know, when they win New Hampshire, when they win Iowa, when they win South Carolina, and then they got to go out to California, and then there's Super Tuesday. There's one thing that every single candidate has in common, except one. Every single candidate, when they give their victory speech, it's all them. It's all them. Now, they thank people and they thank this person and that person. But President Trump, one after the next, he brings them up on stage. Say a few words. Say something. And it's an unusual thing. At that moment, you know, when you win something, it's kind of all about you, except with him. No, you better be careful not to go on too long. Okay, you can see the moment when somebody goes on too long. He notices it, and he notices it at right about the right time. You know, right at the moment you're thinking of looking at your watch, he feels it too. All right, so speak, but speak quickly. Hopefully you'll get that honor. I must say, I've never had it myself. Who knows? Maybe someday. Maybe.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.